Hello, my good friends. How are you today? God bless you all. Picture this. A small diner in Charlotte, North Carolina. Hot burgers, strong coffee, and a cranky old man about to turn things upside down. For 7 years, Jenny Harper has served Frank Grumpy Malone, always dodging his tantrums, smiling when he curses, thinking he's just another broke regular. Then one day, he's gone. Dead. And a shrewd lawyer walks in with jaw-dropping news. Frank isn't just a crank, he's a secret millionaire, and he's left Jenny $1 million, plus a $5 million life-changing fund. Why her? What's the catch? This isn't just a story about money. It's about kindness, secrets, and a legacy more painful than a southern summer storm. Stay tuned, because you won't believe how a waitress with a smile conquered the world and won. Comment where you're watching and hit that subscribe button now so we can get started. The air inside Big Al's diner smelled like a greasy hug. Burger grease sizzling on the grill, a hint of burnt coffee, and the faint sweetness of apple pie cooling on the counter. It was a busy Tuesday afternoon in Charlotte, North Carolina, sometime in late 2012. The jukebox in the corner hummed an old Johnny Cash tune, and the clatter of plates mixed with the chatter of truckers, families, and retirees filling the red vinyl booths. Jenny Harper, a 40-year-old waitress with a faded apron and a stubborn streak of kindness, darted between tables, balancing a tray of iced teas and a smile that never seemed to quit. She was wiping down the sticky table near the window when the door jingled open, and a man stepped in who didn't fit the usual crowd. He was tall, maybe 50, with slicked-back hair and a black suit that screamed uptown lawyer in a place where jeans and flannel ruled. Jenny barely glanced up until he cleared his throat and said, "Jenny Harper?" "Yeah, that's me," she replied, brushing a strand of brown hair from her sweaty forehead. "You need a table? We're kinda slammed today." "No table," he said, his voice calm but firm. "I'm Tom Reynolds, attorney. I've got news about Frank Malone." Jenny froze, sponge still dripping in her hand. "Frank? You mean Grumpy Frank? The old guy who comes in here every day?" Her heart skipped a beat. Frank hadn't shown up in weeks, and she'd been worried sick about him. Tom nodded, pulling a thick envelope from his briefcase. "He passed away a few weeks back. But before he did, he left something for you." "Left something?" Jenny's brows furrowed. "Like what? A complaint letter? 'Cause that'd be on brand for him." Tom chuckled, but his eyes were serious. "No, he left you $1 million. And more." The diner went dead quiet. Marge, the fiery redhead behind the counter, dropped a coffee pot, shattering it on the tile floor. Eddie, the lanky busboy, who spent more time flirting than working, let out a loud, "No freaking way!" Even Big Al, the gruff owner with a permanent scowl, poked his head out from the kitchen, spatula in hand. Jenny's legs gave out. She plopped onto the nearest chair, staring at Tom like he'd just told her the moon was made of cheese. $1 million? From Frank? You're pulling my leg, right?" "No joke," Tom said, handing her the envelope. "There's a letter in there from him. And that's not all. He also set up a $5 million community fund called Grace's Fund. He wants you to run it. Help folks like you who work hard and get overlooked." Jenny's hand shook as she tore open the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of yellowed paper, covered in Frank's shaky handwriting. She read aloud, her voice cracking. "Jenny, you're the only damn soul in this rotten town who treated me like a human being. I ain't good with words, but your smile kept me going. Reminded me of my grace. Take the $1 million and live a little. And the fund. Use it to help people who deserve it. Don't let 'em down like the world let me down. Frank." Her eyes blurred with tears. $1 million. $5 million more for a fund. From Frank Grumpy Malone, the guy who'd spent 7 years barking orders and tossing burgers back at her like they were grenades. She looked up at Tom, mouth agape. "He was a millionaire? That cranky old man. Tom leaned in, lowering his voice. More than that. Frank was worth millions. Real estate, old military patents, you name it. But he lived like a hermit. Came here every day just to see you. Said you were the only one who didn't give up on him. That hit her like a freight train. Jenny's chest tightened and a sob escaped her throat. She glanced at the empty corner table where Frank always sat, his ghost practically glaring back at her through the smudged window. Marge stormed over, hands on her hips. Wait a sec. That miserable old coot left you a fortune? I took his crap for years too, you know. Eddie grinned, leaning on his broom. Guess Jenny's the millionaire waitress now. Can I borrow $100? Shut it, Eddie. Big Al growled, stepping out from the kitchen. He looked at Jenny, his tough guy face softening for once. You okay, kid? Jenny didn't answer. She just stared at the letter, tears splashing onto the ink. Frank, a millionaire, coming here for her. It didn't make sense. She'd spent years dodging his tantrums, smiling through his insults. And now this? $1 million and a mission to change lives? Her head spun. Let me get this straight, she finally said, voice shaky. He's gone, and he left me all this. Why? Tom shrugged. Read the letter again. You were his lifeline, Jenny. He didn't have anyone else. She wiped her eyes with her sleeve, looking out at the parking lot where Tom had parked Frank's old Buick, a beat-up maroon relic Frank used to rumble in every day. It was hers now, too, a piece of him. The first wave of emotion crashed over her. Shock, grief, and something warm she couldn't name. Let's rewind 7 years, back to 2005, when this whole crazy story started. It was a crisp fall day in Charlotte, the kind where the leaves turned gold and red, crunching underfoot as folks shuffled into Big Al's for a warm meal. The diner was a local staple, cheap eats, strong coffee, and a vibe that screamed small-town America. Truckers swapped stories over meatloaf, moms wrangled kids sticky with ketchup, and retirees nursed bottomless cups of joe. Jenny was 33 then, still new enough to the grind that her apron wasn't frayed yet. She'd grown up in Charlotte, raised by a single mom who worked double shifts at a textile mill. Waiting tables wasn't her dream. It was survival. But she had a knack for it, a way of making folks feel seen, even when they tipped pennies or snapped at her over cold fries. That's when Frank Malone first walked in. The door creaked open, and there he was, tall and bony like a scarecrow in an old army jacket. His silver hair stuck out in wild tufts, and his sharp blue eyes scanned the room like he was sizing up enemies. He carried a wooden cane, tapping it on the floor as he shuffled to the corner table by the window. Jenny didn't know it then, but this grumpy old man was about to turn her life upside down. "Hey there, welcome to Big Al's," she said, flashing her usual grin as she handed him a menu. "What can I get started for you?" He didn't look up. "Burger, hot, like it just came off the damn grill. And coffee, black, no sugar, no crap." "Got it," Jenny said, unfazed. She'd dealt with grumps before, but when she brought the burger out, piping hot just like he asked, he took one bite, slammed it down, and barked, "This ain't hot. You call this service? I ain't eatin' garbage." The diner hushed. Marge, pouring coffee at the counter, muttered, "Oh, great, another nut job." Eddie snickered from the back, but Jenny just nodded. "Sorry about that, sir. I'll get you a fresh one. No charge." Frank glared at her, but she didn't flinch. She hustled to the kitchen, plated a sizzling new burger, and set it in front of him with a smile. "Better?" He grunted, took a bite, and said nothing. That was the first day of 7 years, a routine of demands, complaints, and Jenny's unshakable patience. She didn't know why she kept serving him when everyone else gave up. Maybe it was the flicker of sadness in his eyes, buried under all that grouchiness. Maybe she just couldn't walk away. Jenny stood outside Big Al's now, the 2012 air cool against her damp cheeks. The Buick gleamed faintly under the diner's neon sign, a quiet reminder of Frank. $1 million. A $5 million fund. Her mind reeled. Why her? What had she done to earn this? She clutched his letter, the weight of it sinking in. This wasn't just money. It was a mystery, a legacy, and maybe a chance to figure out who Frank Malone really was. Hey, if you're hooked on Jenny and Frank's story, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment. What do you think made Frank pick her? I'd love to hear your guesses. Stick around, 'cause this is just the beginning. The Buick's keys jangled in Jenny's hand as she stood outside Big Al's diner, the neon sign buzzing faintly overhead. The shock of Frank Malone's $1 million gift still buzzed in her veins, but so did the questions. Why her? Why now? She stuffed his letter into her apron pocket and stepped back inside, where the chaos of the diner swallowed her up again. The smell of frying bacon hit her nose, and the clatter of dishes drowned out her spinning thoughts. Life didn't stop for $1 million. Not yet. Back in 2005, though, Frank wasn't a mystery or a millionaire to her. He was just the grumpiest old man she'd ever met, and he was about to make her life a whole lot harder. After that first burger fiasco, he kept coming back, every day at 3 p.m., like clockwork. He'd shuffle in, cane tapping the linoleum, and claim his corner table by the window. The other waitresses dubbed him Grumpy Frank within a week, and it stuck. Marge flat out refused to serve him after he snapped at her for a lukewarm coffee. "That old goat can choke on his beans for all I care," she'd hissed, slamming a tray down. Eddie, meanwhile, took one look at Frank's scowl and decided bussing tables was suddenly his life's passion. Jenny didn't have a choice. She was the only one who'd take him on. Maybe it was her stubborn streak, or maybe it was the way his hands shook just a little when he gripped his mug. Either way, she became his waitress, whether he liked it or not, and he didn't make it easy. "This burger's dry as a bone," he'd growl, shoving it back at her. Or, "What's this sludge? I said black coffee, not mud." Jenny would just nod, flash that smile, and hustle back to the kitchen. Big Al watched it all from behind the grill, shaking his head. "You're a saint, Jen. Or a sucker." One rainy afternoon in '06, things got ugly. The diner was packed, construction workers scarfing down meatloaf, kids smearing ketchup on the booths, and Frank was in rare form. Jenny set his burger down, steam still rising off the patty, but he took one look and slammed his fist on the table. "Where's my damn pickles? You deaf or just stupid?" The room went quiet, all eyes on Jenny. Her cheeks burned, but she kept her voice steady. "I'll grab 'em right now, Mr. Malone. Hang tight." She turned to go, but Frank wasn't done. He grabbed the plate and chucked it, burger, bun, and all, right onto the floor. It hit with a wet smack, grease splattering her sneakers. "I ain't eating this garbage," he roared. Marge gasped. Eddie let out a low whistle. Big Al stormed out, his apron streaked with flour, and jabbed a finger at Frank. "That's it, Malone. You're out of here. I don't care how regular you are. Nobody treats my staff like that." Frank stood, slow and creaky, his cane wobbling under his weight. "Fine. Keep your lousy joint." He tossed a crumpled 10 on the table and hobbled out into the rain, leaving the diner buzzing with whispers. Jenny knelt to clean up the mess, her hands shaking as she scraped burger off the floor. Marge crouched beside her, fuming. "Why do you put up with that jerk, Jen? He's a lost cause." Jenny shrugged, forcing a smile. "He's not so bad. Just loud. I think he's lonely, that's all." "Lonely?" Marge snorted. "He's a jackass. You're too nice for your own good." Big Al loomed over them, his voice gruff but softer than usual. "She's right, Jen. You don't gotta take that crap. I'll ban him if he pulls that again." "Nah, don't," Jenny said, standing up with the wrecked plate. "I can handle him. He'll be back tomorrow. You'll see." And he was. At 3 p.m. sharp, the door jingled, and there was Frank, soaked from the rain, his army jacket dripping onto the floor. He sat at his table without a word, and Jenny brought him a fresh burger, extra pickles this time. He ate in silence, didn't complain once, and left a $1 tip. For Frank, that was damn near a thank you note. Months turned into years, and the routine settled in. Frank's tantrums became background noise at Big Al's, like the hum of the jukebox or the hiss of the fryer. He'd balk about cold fries or weak coffee, and Jenny would fix it, no fuss. The other staff gave up on him entirely. Marge called him the diner devil, and Eddie swore he'd seen Frank scare off a newbie waitress with one glare. But Jenny kept at it, day after day, her smile a shield against his storms. Then came a cold December night in 2009, when something shifted. The diner was quiet, just a few stragglers nursing coffee under the fluorescent lights. Frank shuffled in, coughing hard enough to rattle his thin frame. His face was pale, his eyes sunken, but he still demanded his burger and black coffee. Jenny brought them out, then hesitated. She slid a bowl of steaming chicken noodle soup across the table, on the house. "What's this?" he snapped, glaring at the bowl. "You're sick," she said simply. "Soup'll warm you up. Don't worry, it's free." He stared at her, his mouth half open like he couldn't find the words to argue. Finally, he muttered, "You're like her, Grace, always fussin' over me." He took a spoonful, then another, and ate the whole damn thing without a complaint. When he finished, he pushed the bowl aside and looked at Jenny, really looked at her, for the first time. "She's gone, you know. Grace. Been gone 40 years. Jenny's heart twisted. "I'm sorry, Mr. Malone. She must have been special." "She was," he said, his voice cracking. He didn't say more, just sipped his coffee and stared out the window at the snowflakes drifting down. That was the first time Jenny saw past the grump, the first hint of the man underneath. Grace. His wife. She filed that name away, wondering what else he was hiding. After that, she started noticing little things, the way his hands trembled when he unfolded a napkin, the faded photo he sometimes pulled from his wallet, a pretty woman with a wide smile, laughing in a black-and-white world. One time he left it on the table by accident, and Jenny picked it up. "This her?" she asked, holding it out. Frank snatched it back, but his eyes softened. "Yeah, Grace. Prettiest gal in Carolina. You got her smile, you know." Jenny blushed. "That's sweet of you to say." "Ain't sweet," he grunted. "Just true." He tucked the photo away and went back to his burger, but something had changed. He still griped. God, did he gripe? But every now and then he'd let a thanks slip out, so quiet she almost missed it. Rumors started swirling around Big Al's. Marge swore she'd heard Frank owned half the county, some old money from way back. Eddie laughed it off. "Rich? That guy? He tips like a broke hobo." Jenny didn't buy it either. Frank drove a rusty Buick and wore the same threadbare jacket every day. But those little cracks in his armor, those mentions of Grace, stuck with her. She started to wonder, who was Frank Malone really? By 2010, she knew his order by heart. Burger, well done, extra pickles, coffee black as night, and she'd have it ready before he even sat down. He'd still complain sometimes, just for show, but he'd eat every bite. And Jenny kept smiling, kept asking, "How's it today, Mr. Malone?" Even when he growled back. She couldn't explain why she stuck with him. Maybe it was Grace's ghost in his eyes, or maybe she just hated giving up on people. Outside Big Al's now, in 2012. Jenny leaned against the Buick, the cold metal biting through her jeans. Frank's letter crinkled in her pocket, and the diner's noise faded behind her. A millionaire. A fund called Grace. She'd spent 7 years serving him, dodging his temper, and somehow she'd mattered to him. But how? Why? The questions gnawed at her, and she knew one thing for sure. She wasn't done with Frank Malone's story yet. Hey, y'all. What do you think Frank's hiding behind that grumpy face? Hit subscribe and drop a comment. Let's figure this out together. Things are about to get wilder, so don't miss the next part. The wind howled outside Big Al's diner, rattling the windows and sending napkins skittering across the counter. It was July 2012, and a monster storm had rolled into Charlotte, turning the sky black and the streets into rivers. Inside, the diner was a ghost town. Just Jenny, Marge, and a couple of stubborn truckers hunched over their coffee. The jukebox sat silent, drowned out by the rain hammering the roof. Jenny wiped down the counter for the 10th time, her eyes flicking to the clock. 3:05 p. Monsieur Frank was late. He'd never been late. She'd seen him yesterday, though, and it hadn't been pretty. He'd shuffled in, soaked to the bone, his cough worse than ever, a wet, hacking sound that made her wince. His hands shook so bad he spilled half his coffee, but he still demanded his burger, hot as hell, and growled when she set it down. "This ain't hot enough. You trying to freeze me out?" "It's straight off the grill, Mr. Malone," Jenny said, keeping her tone light. "You're just soggy from the rain. How about I grab you a towel?" "Don't tell me what I need," he snapped, but his voice cracked, weaker than usual. He ate anyway, hunched over the plate like it was his last meal. Jenny hovered nearby, chewing her lip. He looked awful, pale, shaky, a shadow of the fire-breathing grump she knew. When he finished, he slid $5 across the table, 5 whole bucks, not his usual crumpled dollar, and muttered, "Keep it." Then he was gone, disappearing into the storm. Now, standing in the empty diner, Jenny couldn't shake the worry gnawing at her gut. "He's never missed a day," she said to Marge, who was stacking sugar packets with a scowl. "Maybe the old buzzard finally croaked," Marge shot back. "Good riddance, if you ask me." "Don't say that," Jenny snapped, sharper than she meant. "He's just sick or something. I should have made him stay yesterday." Marge rolled her eyes. "You're not his mom, Jen. Let it go." But Jenny couldn't. By 4 p.m., with the storm still raging, she grabbed her raincoat and keys. "I'm going to check on him," she said, ignoring Marge's protests. Big Al poked his head out from the kitchen, frowning. "You're crazy, girl. Roads are a mess out there." "I'll be fine," she called, already halfway out the door. The rain hit her like a slap, cold and relentless, soaking her sneakers as she climbed into her beat-up Ford. Frank lived out on Old Pine Road, a mile or two from town, a run-down shack she'd only seen once when she dropped off a to-go order he'd forgotten. She didn't know why she was doing this, but the thought of him alone, sick, maybe hurt, twisted her insides. The drive was hell. Windshield wipers slapped uselessly against the downpour, and the road blurred into a muddy smear. When she finally pulled up to Frank's place, her headlights caught a sagging porch and peeling paint, the house leaning like it might collapse any second. No lights, no smoke from the chimney, just dark and quiet. Too quiet. "Mr. Malone!" she yelled, banging on the door. Rain plastered her hair to her face, and the wind snatched her voice away. "Frank, you in there? It's Jenny." Nothing. She tried the knob, locked. Peering through a cracked window, she saw shadows of furniture, a tipped-over chair, but no Frank. Her stomach dropped. "Oh, God, what if he's—" She circled the house, slipping in the mud, shouting his name until her throat burned. No answer. Soaked and shivering, she climbed back into her car, tears mixing with the rain on her cheeks. He was gone. Dead. Lost. She didn't know. All she knew was she'd failed him. She should have dragged him back to the diner, made him dry off something. The drive home was a blur, her hands white-knuckled on the wheel, guilt choking her. Days turned into weeks, and Frank didn't show. The storm passed, leaving Charlotte muggy and bruised, but Big Al's felt emptier than ever. Jenny went through the motions, pouring coffee, flipping burgers, but her eyes kept drifting to that corner table. Marge noticed. "You're acting like you lost your best friend," she said one slow afternoon, tossing a rag at her. "He was a jerk, Jen. Move on." "He wasn't just a jerk," Jenny murmured, staring at the table. "He was something else, too." Then, 3 weeks later, Marge burst through the kitchen doors, waving a soggy newspaper. "Jen, look at this." She slapped it on the counter, pointing to the obituaries. There it was, in stark black ink. Frank Grumpy Malone, 88, passed away July 15th, 2012, in his sleep. No surviving family. Jenny's knees buckled. She grabbed the counter, tears spilling hot and fast. "He's gone," she whispered. "He's really gone." Eddie poked his head out, frowning. "Aw, man, Jen, you okay?" "No," she choked out, sinking onto a stool. The diner spun around her. Grease-stained walls. The hum of the fridge. That damn empty table. 7 years of burgers and coffee, of dodging his temper and catching his rare, quiet thanks. And now he was dead. She buried her face in her hands, sobbing like she'd lost a piece of herself. Marge hovered, awkward, then patted her shoulder. "Come on, hon. He was old. It happens." "I should have checked sooner," Jenny said, voice muffled. "I should have known." Big Al came out, his big frame filling the doorway. "Enough of that," he said gruffly. "You did more for that old coot than anyone. Don't beat yourself up." But she did. For days, she dragged herself to work, her smile a brittle mask. Customers asked where the grumpy guy went, and she'd mumble, "He passed," before escaping to the back to cry. That table stayed empty, a silent ghost haunting her shifts. She'd failed him, and it ate at her like acid. Until one muggy afternoon, when the door jingled and Tom Reynolds walked in. Jenny was mid-wipe on a ketchup-stained table, her apron streaked with grease, when he called her name. "Jenny Harper?" "Yeah," she said, straightening up, wary. "What's up?" "I'm Tom Reynolds, Frank Malone's lawyer," he said, setting his briefcase down. "He's got something for you." Her heart skipped. "He's dead. What could he have?" Tom smiled faintly. "Plenty. He left you $1 million, and a $5 million fund called Grace's Fund. He wants you to run it." The diner went pin-drop silent. Marge shattered another coffee pot. Second time in a month. Eddie whooped. "Holy crap, Jen!" Jenny just stood there, sponge dripping onto the floor, her brain short-circuiting. $1 million? From Frank? "And more," Tom said, handing her an envelope. "Read this." She tore it open, hands trembling, and there was Frank's scrawl. "Jenny, you're the only damn soul in this rotten town who treated me like a human being. I ain't good with words, but your smile kept me going. Reminded me of my Grace. Take the $1 million and live a little. And the fund, use it to help people who deserve it. Don't let 'em down like the world let me down. Frank." Her knees buckled again, but this time from shock. She sank into a booth, tears streaming as she read it again. $1 million. $5 million for a fund. Grace's name. Frank wasn't just some broke old grump. He'd been a millionaire, hiding in plain sight, coming here every day for her. The realization hit like a thunderclap, and she sobbed, loud and raw, right there in the middle of Big Al's. Marge gaped. "You're kidding me. That guy?" Tom nodded. He was loaded, real estate, patents, the works. Lived like a pauper, though. Said Jenny was the only one who didn't ditch him. Jenny clutched the letter, her chest heaving. "He came here for me?" "Every day," Tom said. "You were his lifeline." She looked at that corner table, imagining Frank there, grumbling over his coffee, and the tears came harder. Not just grief now. Gratitude, awe, a flood of something she couldn't name. She'd mattered to him. All those years, all those burgers, they'd meant something. Outside, she sat in the Buick, Frank's Buick, hers now, running her fingers over the cracked leather wheel. The letter lay in her lap, a lifeline of her own. $1,000,000, a fund to change lives. She wiped her eyes, a shaky laugh escaping. "You sneaky old man," she whispered. "What am I supposed to do with all this?" "Hey, y'all. Jenny's got a fortune and a mission now. What's she gonna do with it? Hit that subscribe button and drop a comment with your ideas. Things are heating up, so don't miss the next part." The Buick's engine purred as Jenny pulled out of Big Al's parking lot, the late afternoon sun glinting off its maroon hood. It was still 2012, just days after Tom Reynolds dropped the $1,000,000 bombshell and the $5 million fund into her lap. Charlotte stretched out before her, a patchwork of strip malls, oak trees, and quiet streets. But it felt different now. Frank's letter sat on the passenger seat, its edges curling from her sweaty grip. $1,000,000 to live a little. $5 million to help folks who'd been kicked around by life, just like she had. She didn't know where to start, but she knew one thing. She wasn't the same Jenny Harper who'd scrubbed ketchup off tables yesterday. Back at Big Al's, the news spread like grease fire. Marge cornered her the next shift, arms crossed tight. "So what, you're quitting now? Moving to some fancy mansion?" Jenny laughed, tying her apron on out of habit. "Nah, Marge, I ain't going anywhere yet. Too much to figure out." Eddie sidled up, grinning like a kid at Christmas. "Come on, Jen, you're a millionaire. Buy me a beer, huh?" "Get back to work, slacker," she shot back, but there was a grin in it. Big Al watched from the kitchen, his usual scowl replaced with something softer. "You're still my best girl, Jen," he said, flipping a burger. "Don't let that money change you." "I won't," she promised, but deep down, she knew it already had. Not in a flashy, big-shot way. Jenny wasn't about to trade her sneakers for heels, but in the way she saw that corner table. Frank's table. It wasn't empty anymore. It was a promise. First things first, she took care of herself. She drove the Buick to her mom's little clapboard house on the east side, where the paint peeled and the porch sagged. Her mom, Ruth, a wiry woman with gray hair and a smoker's rasp, met her at the door. "What's that rust bucket doing in my driveway?" she asked, squinting at the car. "It's mine now," Jenny said, stepping inside. "And I got something to tell you." Over a pot of Folgers and a plate of biscuits, she spilled it all. Frank's death, the million, the fund. Ruth's jaw dropped, coffee sloshing onto the table. "Lord have mercy," she wheezed. "That cranky old man? A millionaire? And he picked you?" "Guess so," Jenny said, shrugging. "I'm gonna fix this place up for you, Ma. New roof, new pipes, the works. No more leaks." Ruth waved a hand. "Don't waste it on me, girl. You deserve a break." "Too late," Jenny said with a smile. "It's done." She hired a crew the next day, and within a week the house glowed with fresh paint and a sturdy roof. She kept a chunk of the million for herself, too. Bought a cozy one-bedroom apartment near downtown, nothing fancy, just hers. The rest she tucked away, still reeling from the weight of it all. But the real work was Grace's fund. Tom met her at a diner uptown, not Big Al's somewhere quieter, to hash it out. Over greasy hash browns and sweet tea, he laid out Frank's vision. He wanted it for the little guys, Tom said, tapping a stack of papers. Waitresses, truckers, factory folks, people who grind and get nothing for it. 5 million's a hell of a start. Jenny sipped her tea, nodding slow. Like me, like my mom. Folks who don't catch breaks. Exactly, Tom said. He trusted you to run it. Said you've got the heart for it. Her throat tightened. I don't know the first thing about funds or millions, Tom. You'll learn, he said, sliding her a business card. I'll hook you up with accountants, advisors. You just bring the soul. So she did. She quit Big Al's a month later, not because she wanted to, but because Grace's fund needed her full-time. Big Al threw her a send-off party, the diner packed with regulars who'd heard the tale of millionaire Jenny. Marge hugged her stiffly, muttering, "Don't forget us little people, huh?" Eddie slipped her a napkin with his number scrawled on it. For when you're lonely, rich lady. She laughed, tucking it away. Her first move with the fund was close to home. She turned Big Al's into a Sunday soup kitchen, free meals for anyone who needed them. Big Al grumbled at first. I ain't running a charity here. But when he saw the line of folks stretching down the block, he softened. All right, Jen. For you. Marge and Eddie pitched in too, ladling soup and cracking jokes with the crowd. Jenny stood at the door, apron swapped for a clipboard, watching waitresses, janitors, and single moms fill the booths with grateful smiles. Spring rolled into Charlotte, and Grace's fund bloomed. Jenny set up scholarships for kids of working folks. First one went to a girl whose dad drove a forklift, just like Ruth used to. She funded a clinic van that rolled through town, patching up people too broke for doctors. Every check she signed, every hand she shook, felt like Frank sitting right there with her, grunting approval. She'd catch herself smiling at the thought, whispering, "Hope you're seeing this, old man." Then, one humid afternoon, she found something that broke her open all over again. She was cleaning out the Buick, still her daily ride, dents and all, when her hand brushed a wooden box under the passenger seat. It was small, carved with initials, FM plus GL, Frank and Grace. Her pulse quickened as she pried it open. Inside was a leather journal, pages yellowed and curling, and a faded photo of Grace, same one she'd seen years back. She flipped the journal open, and Frank's shaky scrawl spilled out. Deck 12, 2009. She brought me soup tonight. Didn't have to. Grace used to do that, fuss over me when I was too dumb to say thanks. Jenny's got her spirit, keeps me coming back. March 3rd, 2011. Told her about Grace today. Felt like a fool. But she listened. Ain't nobody listened in years. She don't know it, but she's why I ain't given up. July 10th, 2012. Storm's coming. I'm tired. Real tired. But I'll go see her tomorrow. One last time. Gotta leave her something. She's earned it. Jenny's hands shook, tears splashing onto the pages. That last entry, 4 days before he died. He'd known. He'd planned it. She clutched the journal to her chest, sobbing in the Buick's quiet cab. All those years, she'd thought she was just pouring coffee, dodging his temper. But to Frank, she'd been a lifeline, an echo of Grace, a reason to keep going. The realization hit her like a wave, raw and heavy, and she cried until her throat ached. She drove to Big Al's that evening, the journal tucked in her bag. The diner hummed with its usual chaos. Truckers laughing, kids chasing fries across the floor. She slipped behind the counter, grabbed a hammer from the back, and nailed a small plaque to the wall above Frank's corner table. For Frank Malone, the grump who taught me kindness is power. Big Al raised an eyebrow but didn't argue. Marge smirked. Sappy, but it fits. Grace's fund grew bigger than Jenny ever dreamed. By 2013, it was a Charlotte legend, feeding folks, funding dreams, lifting up the invisible. She'd sit in the Buick sometimes, parked outside the diner, watching the city she'd changed with Frank's money in her heart. "Thanks, Frank," she'd whisper, tracing the wheel he'd gripped for years. "I'm keeping your promise." One sunny afternoon, she drove through town, windows down, country music drifting from the radio. Charlotte buzzed around her, kids on bikes, folks chatting on porches, and she felt it. Peace. She wasn't just a waitress anymore. She was Frank's legacy, Grace's echo, a woman who'd turned a smile into something unstoppable. The Buick rumbled on, carrying her forward, and she grinned, wide and free. Kindness, she thought, was the strongest damn thing in the world. Hey, y'all. What do you think of Jenny and Frank's journey? Hit that subscribe button and drop a comment. Tell me what hit you hardest. Thanks for sticking with me. Here's to kindness changing the game.